Good evening, everybody. This is the CSRN podcast, our weekly video minutes where we talk about some of the things that we've done last week, some of the things that we've got planning, that we're planning right now, and some of the things that we're going to be doing in the near future. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad, and I'm here by myself today. And I use the pronouns he and him. And I'm one of the co-founders of CSRN, whereas 7 years ago, two brothers named Leonardi, one named Jabril Bey, wanted to find a different way to approach social justice outside of religion and outside of politics. And they came up with this day that they called Community Solidarity Day. And they brought different people together to talk about specific issues, and they brought me in on the tail end to help organize and plan things because that's what I do. That's what I love to do. That's my passion. And here we are 7 years later, planning in the community, having a huge tent of supporters and well-wishers and comrades to push the message that the least considered needs to be at the top of the list. So, and as always, I'm dedicated to respecting and protecting all Black bodies, no matter the cost, no matter the gains or loss. And this is also the home of Black Lives Matter and Justice or Else. Usually I'd have Ruth, Jody, or Julian with me today. So it's me solo. So I guess it's all bad from here, all downhill from here. So what I want to do now is I want to read our mission statement, because anybody that's watching this should want to know what we're about. So this is the CSRN mission statement. It says, we are the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, formed on November 25th, 2014, the day after it was announced that the killer, a Ferguson, Missouri police officer of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager, would not be indicted. We bring awareness to the injustices experienced by Black men, women, and children who are disproportionately murdered, attacked, provoked, and harassed by law enforcement. Police brutality has to end. We bring awareness to the fact that most often police brutality goes without consequence and accountability. Police impunity has to end. We utilize tactics of protest, civil disobedience, event disruption, citizen advocacy to give voice to those who are otherwise voiceless. We facilitate progressive community-based events that help to foster self-development, and we discuss measures to hold local leadership accountable to their sworn duties, be they politician, clergy, law enforcement, educators, etc. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed, class, or color. For all lives to matter, Black lives must matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's our mission statement. Those are the things that bind us together and make sure that we are consistent in the things that we say, in the things that we do as the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo. What I'll do now, and if you're in the chat, just put a thumbs up, say what's up. We're always glad to see those who are watching. But this is our CSRN guiding principles. All Black lives matter. Queer Black lives, trans Black lives, formerly and presently incarcerated Black lives, poor working class Black lives, differently abled Black lives, Black men and women lives, immigrant Black lives, Black elderly and children lives. All Black lives matter and are the creators of this space. We throw no one under the bus. We rise together. Ashe. And Ashe means one who changes a thing or one who makes a thing happen. Thriving instead of surviving. Our vision is based on the world we want, not the one we're currently in. We seek to transform, not simply react. We want our people to thrive, not just exist, think beyond the possible. Ashe. Experimentation and innovation must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe. Evaluation and assessment must be built into our culture. Critical reflection must be a part of all of our work. We learn from our mistakes and our victories. Ashe. Principled struggle can exist in a positive environment. We must be honest with one another by embracing direct, loving communication. Ashe. Love, self-love is practiced in every element of all we do. Love and self-love must be a driver of our work and an indicator of our success. Without this principle and without healing, we will undermine our work, we will harm each other, and undermine our movement. Ashe. 360-degree vision. We honor past struggles and wisdom from elders. The work we do today builds the foundations of movements of tomorrow. We consider our mark on future generations. Self-care means we build resilient spaces by budgeting time, energy, and resources for healing. Self-care is a regular, consistent, intentional, and essential practice. Ashe. The most directly affected people are experts at their own lives and should be in leadership at the center of our movement and telling their stories directly. Ashe. Training and leadership development should be fundamental. Our movement must constantly grow and leadership must constantly multiply. We adapted the guiding principles from a convention that we attended in 2015. It was called the Movement for Black Lives. And this convention was organized by young people, none of them over 40 years old. And one of the things that they did for the whole convention, they had some principles that will make sure that everyone, regardless of region, religion, class, or station in life, that everyone will feel welcome. So they read off these guiding principles, and we thought, wow, those are excellent, and it fits right into what we're doing here in Toledo. So we adapted those, made some slight changes, and those are our guiding principles. And that helps that once someone gets involved with CSRN, there's no joining process. There's no specific joining process. Either come to our events, show up at one of our protests, be a part of one of our workshops, and you're a member. There's no sign-up sheet or anything like that. You can visit our website at csrntoledo.com and read more about us. So that's our guiding principles. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with a very important guest. So stay tuned. This is the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. Come right back.
Hey, I'm Dr. P. Not only am I a leadership coach, I'm a change agent, and I'm a race scholar. I've used my study of race to dismantle systems and organizations, but I also use that to help you as the individual become a better leader for your families and for your community.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call digital edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
All right, we are back. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad. This is the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo. This is our weekly podcast, our video minutes. A couple of things that we're going to talk about today that's really important. One is our city council forum that's happening next week. And I've got a really important guest that we want to bring on right now that's helping us organize and plan it. This is the president of the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce. This is Brother Roy Hodge. Let's bring him into the stream right now. All right, good evening, Mr. Hodge. How you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. First of all, everybody that's viewing our site, you might be used to us posting about social justice from the thinking of protests, marches, street direct action that's showing up at somebody's house or some business with signs. And I understand that that's a way of creating awareness. Well, when it comes to the liberation and movements of our people, economics is a very important and integral part of, of Black life, of all life. And we have the president of the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce. And I'm so happy to bring some experts to the fold to talk about economics, in Toledo and how we can use economics to really push further and make our lives better for ourselves. So if I could bring Mr. Hodge in, can you really introduce yourself to everyone? And what is the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce, and why should people know that you're here?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be with you this evening. And it's a pleasure to connect with you on the other important business that our two organizations are partnering on, and together we'll be able to serve our community. And with this invitation tonight, I'm grateful for the opportunity to introduce myself as somebody from the community. I grew up over there on Melrose on the Fulton School playground. And then from there, I went to McTide and St. Francis, on to Ohio State, lived in Columbus a number of years. I spent most of my career in the technology industry with a bachelor's degree of computer and information systems, and then relocated to Toledo and completed a master's of business administration at the University of Toledo. But for the last 25 years, I've been in this community. I've been serving through, ministries, nonprofit organizations, and chambers of commerce.
All right. Now, also, when we look at your profile on LinkedIn, hey, we do some research. There's a business called REH System Solution. And when you see those names, it's like, okay, what is this? What is REH System Solutions? What does it do? And why should people know that there's a business by that name operated by Roy Hodge?
Well, that's a great question. In the 90s, as I was learning this industry and I realized I couldn't get rich working for somebody else, I started to think about, what it would mean to own my own business. And at the time, I had to come up with a name to register with the Ohio Secretary of State's office. So, REH are my initials, and systems, conveys the concept of a process, and then solutions conveys the concept of using technology to solve problems. And I was in business, as REH Systems Solutions. But, that was at a time where I would, work the full-time job during the day and then take care of clients in the evening, because I had this skill, that people were beginning to ask about.
All right. Yeah. So here we are in 2021. I think I think about my first time meeting you was at the there was an event at the Toledo Club, and I think I was invited there by Pastor Dr. Donald Perryman. I think he had an event there, and he brought together some of the top movers and shakers in our community. And I just happened to meet you there. I was showing up to things like that, trying to meet people that I don't normally, run into every day. And now here we are in 2021, and you're the president of the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce. Well, what does that even, for those who are watching for the first time, what does that even mean? And what's the function of the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce?
That's another good question, brother. When you're out here struggling to build a business, with no resources, at a time where there were not as many resources as there are today, And then you talk about who you surround yourself with becomes the result that you produce. So as it relates to Black business owners in Toledo, being able to identify with an organization that advocates specifically for Black businesses, as we looked around the community to identify, what that organization would be, it was at a time that we had to define the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce and step into that space. And so, over the years, we've occupied the space of assembling, business owners, at various stages, of their business development process as members, and then also, community organizations as members. And so we operate as a chamber of commerce, but the mission is specifically, to accelerate the growth of economic development and entrepreneurship within communities of color, African American communities specifically.
All right. I was talking about you in the Chamber of Commerce, earlier today, at the water cooler. And sometimes I get pushback from talking about some of the beautiful things that we're doing. And there was a comment that said, well, Toledo already has a Chamber of Commerce. Why do we even need an African American one, Brother Washington? Isn't that reverse racism? And I said, okay, I hope you tune in tonight and hear Roy Hodge. Why would we, just for that one person, all right? And I hope he or she are listening, because I don't want to put him out there. But why should we even have an African American Chamber of Commerce when, like the person said, we already have a Chamber of Commerce?
You could represent two different interests in collaboration through partnership among two organizations. So that's exactly what the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce has with the Toledo Regional Chamber of Commerce. We call it a reciprocal membership. So you can come in through either organization, and then for your first year membership, it's reciprocal, or it's movable, or you could have active membership in both organizations simultaneously off of a single membership. So we've had that in place for a number of years with the Toledo Regional Chamber of Commerce. And so, and we want to continue to invest in that relationship. There are events that we both support. There clients that we even serve, in partnership with each other. But as it relates to, the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce specifically, that allows us to define our mission more specifically, targeting the demographic of Black and African American. So, because we, found the need to define, our target and our mission specific to Black and African American, we realized that there were some challenges, some opportunities, some skill development. There were some cultural development opportunities specific to this demographic, that justify building an organization around that mission. So, over the last several years, we've been pretty accountable for what we've delivered on that mission. And I tell you, I couldn't be more happy with how the community has supported this organization. I'll tell you this, 2 years ago, folks would say, I didn't know we had a Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce. A year ago, folks would say, I know we have one, but I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
And here we are, 2.5 years later, folks are saying, I've heard of that we have one, and I even know what we do. I might even be a member, or I'm thinking about being a member. And so we've had to put some things in place organization-wise to create the value to attract the members and to be able to develop the members, so that we have a number of programs internally in the way we're structured as an organization. It's geared towards developing the members. And ironically enough, I took notes on CSRN and guiding principle of training, leadership development. And when I think about the chamber, and I'll just highlight, two programs specifically in the area of training, leadership, and development that aligns with CSRN guiding principles. Through our mentoring program, these entrepreneurs get one-on-one, technical assistance from, whoever the mentor is assigned at the time. And it's going to be driven by the milestone that's achieved. For example, if we're helping an entrepreneur register their limited liability company with the Ohio Secretary of State's office, that's a specific mentor skill set that we match, with that entrepreneur. And then once that milestone is achieved, that paperwork goes in, that entity is created legally in the state of Ohio, then maybe the next milestone is marketing or whatever it is. Within the organization, there's enough expertise and experience to answer a lot of questions that entrepreneurs starting up, or that have been in business for the first, 5 years would need to go through a process in order to get their feet underneath them. So this is the organization that they would identify with.
Right. I've got a couple of more questions. First, how does one even contact the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce if there's an entrepreneur that's looking to level up their skill set, and they think that the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce is a place to go to get knowledge, education, and mentoring so that they can be in business for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? How would someone contact you?
They just sent me an email to rhodge@rehsystems.com. rhodge@rehsystems.com. Anybody interested in membership in the chamber or any existing member in the chamber, I meet one-on-one, with any of you. So
Okay.
that would be the easiest way to contact me, and then we'll get a date on the calendar. Because what I'd be listening for is, what you see your level of involvement being, and what I've said to all new members, coming in, women and millennials specifically. I want you to use the chamber as a platform to get your brand out, your subject matter expertise, your secret sauce as a business owner, whether it be a product, whether it be a service, or whether it be a degree or a certification, some skill set, that's allowing you to generate revenue by bringing on customers. It's really about scalability and sustainability. And so, there's a process for everything. In our technology program, let me give you another example. We partnered with the Junction Coalition to deliver 6 workshops focused on bridging the digital divide. And this is through the Chamber's technology program specifically. So the first workshop has already taken place about a month ago. The next workshop is Monday, October 25th at Mott Library at 6 p.m. And the facilitator is going to guide a discussion about, how do you purchase a device? How do you purchase software? If you're a business owner, what combination of tools do you need to have? As things go virtual and, you're using more software in the cloud, you're exposed to cyber threats and takeovers online. How do you protect yourself against all of that? How do you protect financial data? So there's a business process that technology helps to support. So, from the business owner's perspective, we're going to share some best practices and just expose, entrepreneurs to what technology can do for you as a business owner.
All right. I've got one more question, and I could talk to you all day, but I see the people saying, "Hey, come on now." All right. Well, it's Mr. Hodge, right? Look, we've got coming up our candidates forum. This is going to be Tuesday, October 19th, 6 o'clock. I don't know why they just laid it over our faces. All right, somebody's going to get, laid out for that. But that's going to be at the Frederick Douglass. And initially, I spoke with Julian Mack. I spoke with Jay Mack. I spoke with Al Bannister, and they said, hey, look, this is the person you need to call. His name is Roy Hodge. Here's his number. Give him a call. It was my first time cold calling you. Man, for this forum that we're having, what type of questions would you like to see asked of the candidates next week? When you think about these types of things, and yes, politics is politics, and sometimes there's a lot of, I know that's going to happen. I know they're not going to do this. Well, I'm glad that we're working with you so that we can get a different set of questions, a different set of eyes on what's happening. What are some of the questions that you'd like to have asked? And when you think about follow-up, we had this conversation before, after the forum, after the election, now what? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it would be specific to an economic development plan that's going to, address how they spend that money on, Black business owners, or at least create contracting opportunities to award work. We've got a lot of money coming into this community, and, there's conversations already about, what, programs or organizations are considering, getting funded. But as it relates to, this mission that we're responsible for, is accelerating economic development and entrepreneurship within the African-American community. The question that I would have for a candidate would be, what does that agenda look like in your administration? And so if they've given some thought to that, then, we'll hear an answer. And what I'd be doing is comparing the answer to that same question, from each candidate, and then asking myself, which candidate understands the mission of my organization is also, willing to support the mission of my organization, which would be to level the playing field, for us to accelerate, growth and economic development in our community. So as it relates to the city of Toledo, I'd like to see more Black businesses get work at the city. For example, there, city-owned buildings, within our community that, are getting upgraded and rehabbed and built. And there's, millions of dollars that are being spent. What I'd like to see is, in situations where, Black business owners have past performance and experience and bonding capability, I'd like to see them, get contracts to do the work, at these facilities within our community. That builds a small business, that gives a small business an opportunity to hire, to bring on. So now you're in a situation where you're creating you're generating revenue, and you're creating jobs, within our community. That's the model, and then you build on it from there. So any candidate, whether they be a council member, a mayor, or a senator, or anything else. If I had the conversation with him, I would just ask him to just speak to that agenda. Have you given that some thought? How does that, and then how do you, how can you leverage a relationship with the Toledo African American Chamber to advance any agenda that you have to accelerate the growth of economic development and entrepreneurship within the Black community? And so if, I'll get behind any agenda, that is committed to doing that. So that's what I'm going to be listening for in both of these candidates. And then on the accountability piece, the follow-up would be, a conversation to go deeper, into what that is, even if it's just, theoretical, some ideas about who the hires would be, in the new administration, if a new mayor comes in, or if the new mayor is retained, will certain people in place today remain in place, and what is really the commitment to the accountability of diversity, equity, and inclusion, on all of those contracts. Do we have, MBE representation on, these city-led contracts? And if we don't, what is our plan to improve, those percentages? So, that's really what the community wants. Anybody representing, our interest, in this area specifically, and we stay in our lane, and then we partner with other organizations, that have a specific focus too, and then we consult on behalf of other organizations in our community. For example, if $1 million grant was dropped into your hands right now, would you have the structure and the operation to be able to administer it and account for it? So we use our technology program as an IT help desk for other ministries and nonprofit organizations within our community. I mentioned the partnership with Junction Coalition. So there's 5 more workshops coming. The next one is Monday, October 25th, and we're going to talk about, computer hardware and software best practices for small business tools. I'm actually going to be the facilitator. So, I'm going to do all of this research for you and just drop it on you in 1 hour. And you could walk away with just maybe a half a page of notes, and that'll save you days of accumulating all of this information from all of these different sources. But, that benefit to you is that if you're in a decision making process now, or if you will be in a decision making process in the future, at least you have something to work with. Because, with the acceleration of COVID, a trend that we had already been, moving along with, as an IT, solution provider as REH Systems, we just saw, this need to be able to work anywhere and connect and have access to video conferencing, phone, email, calendar. That just got accelerated. And so, there were winners and losers as that was happening. We want to make sure that we, through our technology program, bridge the digital divide. And this partnership with the Junction Coalition, I couldn't be more excited about. And then the other thing is, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to speak this. I can't wait to see us light up the Frederick Douglass Center with broadband, internet, fiber, SD-WAN, Wi-Fi, managed IP, phone system, so that you can come. So yeah, we're going to power that building to run all of that programming out of that building. So on those 3 floors, you may have multiple organizations or teams working, connecting to the network, and then the network, being strong enough, to provide, a dedicated internet access for Apple devices, Android devices, laptops, Chromebooks, desktops, all at once. And then that become a technology epicenter in that community. And then the wraparound service would be IT training and certification. So, think of IT training and certification as an apprenticeship. Once you pass the exam and earn the certification, now you've got a credential that the industry will recognize and pay a pretty good wage for. And you don't have to be a certain age to earn that. And you don't have to have any formal education to earn that. So, for example, software developers or coders or cybersecurity experts, or artificial intelligence, all of these technologies that power these apps and websites, that create these virtual spaces for us. There's a career behind being able to build that online presence. And so what I'm trying to see is more people of color come into this industry. And so we've done some things as REH Systems. We did that coding camp for the city in July. So we had kids, as young as 8 up to 17, and we were teaching them Roblox Studio. Roblox Studio is a software development platform that allows you to build games. And so, that was a month-long camp. So after the camp was over, the kids had a game. So I said to the kids, think about this, Brother Muhammad. I said to the kids, think about developing a game, and then, we publish it to the Apple Play Store or to the Google Play Store. And let's just say we charge 99 cents a download. But let's just say that we get 3 million downloads. A simple game that we develop because, we're building this skill by becoming familiar with these platforms. And these platforms are creating interfaces that are embedded with animation. And so that's a franchise, brother. That's a $3 million business. And so this is what, we have that creativity and ingenuity within our community. I just think technology enables that, and the Father's put me in a position to create that access. So, we're going to leverage the chamber as part of that, in its partnership with the Junction Coalition and the Frederick Douglass Center. And then as REH Systems, I'm going to support the IT training and certification workforce development program. And then, for those that can pass the certification exam, you can come on board with REH Systems, as an intern. We can put you to work because you'll have that certification. But see, this is how all of these dots connect. And then, I think that we can create, 3 to 5 millionaires in our community in technology. And then these people would be responsible for, creating, even more awareness and even more participation, from those within our community. So that's where we're going with this.
All right. Before you go, I just want to remind everybody, and hey, there's a thing right over our face again. Man, good help is hard to find, Mr. Hodge. We've got the NAACP, we've got Jobs is Justice, Toledo, Tasker, Real Estate, Toledo African American, Chamber of Commerce, the DUG, CSRN. And one of the things that we'd like to see happen is we're going to be taking questions from the audience, Mr. Hodge. And some of those questions that you asked, we want those on the index card because those were some very important questions to be asked to make sure that the candidates speak to that. We just received a message that even though we position this forum for those who are vying for city council, we've also had some mayoral candidates ask us, can they attend? And I've got Ruth Leonard, who is our lead administrative corps. She's in the studio right now waiting to come in right after the break. And we're going to find out if we should open it up for all. I'm sure she's going to say, Brother Washington, we should. Well, I'm going to wait till she say go, so I don't have to come back with egg on my face. But I know you're committed to being there next Tuesday. Please have those questions on the index cards, and if possible, to reintroduce the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce to the people that come there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and thank you for the invite. I got it down for next Tuesday at 6:00 at the DUG, and you can count on me to be there.
All right. Before you go, is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience? Because for those who are viewing it now and those who are going to view it later, anything you want to leave us with, Mr. Hodge?
I just want to let you know I love all of y'all. and I'm at a point in time in my life where I'm very clear about who I am and what the Father has for me to do. There's a lot of opportunity out here, and there's a lot of money out here. And, it's something unique about being an entrepreneur. And it just fascinates me. And for those of you that are entrepreneurs, we'll be able to connect right away. It doesn't matter at what stage you are, in your business. There's something to learn. I just turned 56 years old, and I am a millionaire, but I have 4 mentors, and I consult with on a regular basis. So the Father's put me in a position to sow into others, and I just love Northwest Ohio and Toledo. So that's why I put out my email address, and then we would just schedule something, and it could be virtual. But I just want to hear what your ideas are. If you're thinking about joining the chamber, or if you've got a business in general, and you've got some wins recently that you want to share, I'll give you a perfect example, and I'll let you go. So I'm working with these 2 women entrepreneurs, and they're in the food business. One's got a bakery, and the other, does some, professional catering and carry out. And so I was working with actually one of my best clients in Toledo on the technology company that I have, and they were sharing with me that they're having an event, and it's for WNBE business owners, because they want to, become acquainted with that community and talk about how to get that spend up among, minority business owners. So I said to her, how can you serve food and you don't have NBE food vendors? So, I was able to connect the 3 of them, and she's going to use both of those vendors at the event. So I'm really, really excited for these 2 entrepreneurs that I've been working with. Because I'm hoping, Brother Muhammad, is that not only do they get the catering contract for that event, but, more events in the future, working with that client, because we were able to make that connection. So, that's what, the community is expecting the chamber to do. Help them, develop skills and leadership ability, but also to make connections, put people together, and then boom, now you got this opportunity because this connection was made. So that's it, brother.
All right. Hey, listen, Mr. Hodge, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We look forward to seeing you next week, and please jot those questions down. That was gold for all of us. So, and in closing, this is our brother, the president of the Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce, our brother Roy Hodge. He's put the work in, and he's willing to share his skill set with all of us so that we can level up. Thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Yes, bless you, brother.
Yes, sir. And listen, we're going to be right back, where we're going to have the lead administrative core of CSRN, our sister, Ruth Leonard. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know addiction is a disease, not a moral dilemma? The opioid epidemic and substance use have a major impact on communities of color and many people's lives. Wasion Wellness Recovery Support Center offers culturally relevant inpatient and outpatient behavioral health treatment and recovery support services to any Ohioan struggling with addiction, mental health, or finding sober, safe housing. We must recognize that treatment is available and accessible to all. If you are in need of treatment or want to find out more information, you can call 1-888-728-2713 to talk to someone or schedule an appointment.
All right, we're back. This is the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast, and it's awesome that we're going to have the lead administrative core Join us now, man. Just it's magic. Hey, listen, thank you for logging in. Listen to me. Thank you for logging in. Huh. All right. Anyway, hey, listen, Ruth. One of the things that we didn't do earlier when I introduced myself, I didn't tell anyone that may be visually challenged that I have on. Hey, I've got on a vest and a plaid shirt today, so I'm looking pretty smart. I've got my thick rim glasses on, some throwbacks, but they're still stylish. Got on a tin hat. So I'm looking like, hey, okay, all right. Obviously, somebody bought everything that was on that mannequin. Somebody bought everything. He wasn't taking any chances. All right. If they had grown up Garanimals, hey, I might be it. But that's okay because my wife approved when I walked out the house today. All right.
That's
So
all that matters.
all right, so we've got Ruth. So if you could introduce yourself, what you rocking today, and man, why is it so important that we continue in this struggle for freedom, equality, and justice?
Alrighty, well, good evening, everyone. My name, as Brother Washington stated, is Ruth Leonard, and I am the lead administrative core of the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo. And this evening, I am coming to you from my home, and I am wearing a gray sweatshirt with the logo for the Educated Activists printed on it, as well as a nice, smart, as Brother Washington would say, purple and black button up underneath. My hair is in braids that are well past my shoulders and down my back. And I am a medium brown complected woman. I am here this evening to talk with you about why this work is so important. And one of the main reasons that I think is the driving force behind why CSRN is so successful is because we have the type of community of individuals who show up consistently. And so, for that, I would like to take a moment to shout out Brother Washington. Um,
What?
the consistency of this work is so important because of the need for rest and self-care, and to know that it's okay to take rest and it's okay to get yourself back to 100% and know that there are people who you trust with this work that will consistently show up and be there. I think that it's also really important, the work that we do, because we need to keep in essence our foot on the necks of these politicians who have to earn our votes, whether it's a mayoral forum, whether it's city council, whether it's your local dog catcher. I think that it's important that there is accountability on all sides, whether it's citizens in neighborhoods or elected officials. And one of the most important things and one of the most exciting things that CSRN does is every year during election season, we host our forum. And our forum will be taking place next Tuesday, October 19th. And thanks to an amazing partnership with the Frederick Douglass Center, or the Doug, and Reggie over there, as well as multiple entities throughout the city, we are able to bring the city council candidates forum. And this particular forum is really important because just like every other election, we are going to hear from the candidates to see what they are willing to go on the record to state is their commitment to their Black and brown constituents in the city. I think that there's always a lot of effort and emphasis put towards making white constituents feel safe, and other communities feel like what they have to say matter, and making sure that their voices are heard. And we want to make sure that same opportunity is given to Black and brown constituents. We want to make sure that the same emphasis is placed on getting our community members out to vote. So I think one of the biggest emphasis is one of the things that we're going to place a big emphasis this year with our candidates is how are they encouraging the low voter turnout to increase. I think it's also worth noting that we are now in a phase of CSRN where we can see how our presence changes the room and there's a shift in the atmosphere. And it's time that we start using that power and that presence to not only continue to show up, but to bring even more people along with us as we fight the good fight and we keep the public notified of the initiatives that are facing city council. Just like last week, or I'm sorry, week before last, where we talked about the MRAPs, and that was being voted on in city council. I believe also the vote for the Toledo Police Department, their contract is up for vote on city council, and I believe that vote took place today as well. And so we want to make sure that as not only citizens and constituents of the city of Toledo, but as change agents in the city of Toledo, we are keeping everyone informed about how elected officials are using their positions of power to either make our lives better or to create opportunities for us to get out into the streets and make our voices heard so that we can have the community that we know we deserve.
All right, now you talked about getting out into the streets, and we just are being joined by Julian. I'm trying to see if he's ready to join us, making sure that he's in position, that when I put his screen up, it will be where we would think that it should be. All right, let's check him out right now. All right, hey, all right, I did you good. All right, so I want you to remember that. All right, that I brought you in after you got situated. All right. So what I wanted to ask you, Julian, if you don't mind introducing yourself, and why are you so passionate about still being involved in for justice equality?
Everybody, my name is Julian Mack. I use the pronouns he, him. And, you know, the reason why I got involved in CSRN and the reason why I keep coming back is because we continue to deal with issues that affect day-to-day lives of people like me. And still, even with thousands of people taken to the street, still with all the work that we've done, I realized that there is an establishment, there's a political class, the bourgeoisie, as some would call, that refuse to engage directly about the issues that affect the most marginalized among us. And we must remember, right, that in this country, most of us are a check or a few checks away from being the most marginalized if we aren't the most marginalized already. We're a decision or two from being one of the most marginalized people in our society. We're a mistake or two from being one of the most marginalized people in society. We are a bad day, a bad moment away from being in a position where we're the most marginalized. I have been in that position before. I have friends who have been in that position before. And as we engage with those in power, you know, we continue to speak to the issues of those who continue to be oppressed, be it Black people, be it the incarcerated population, be it the undereducated population, you know, be it the any type of underserved person. We continue to speak for, not just speak for, but listen to and amplify, right? And so that is where my passion comes from, because if we don't do this work, I'm afraid much of it doesn't get done.
All right.
So the passion comes from a place of pain, right? It comes from a place of hurt. It comes from a place of being silenced. And that's why I speak loud, bright, and colorful.
Okay. All right. Real talk earlier about the our candidates forum coming up. Why is, for you, why, and she talked about making sure that the candidates speak to the low voter turnout. What can they do to turn it around? Why do you think it's important that people know about the our candidate forum, and why is it important that they get out the vote?
So we talk all the, people can be frustrated about electoral politics and how to change our system, how to make the world a better place. There, the elected officials that impact your life the most on a day-to-day basis are city council and the mayor. They're the ones that determine what happens to your water and how much your water costs or how free your water may be. They determine whether you're not when you go down the street, whether you trip on the sidewalk or whether your car gets a flat tire from a pothole. And they're the ones that determine, how much punishment you may get for a bag of weed. They're the ones that determine so much of our day-to-day lives. It is it's ignorant to and I don't want to. I'm not here to try to shame, but we're here to empower each other. We're here to build our community up. We're going to do one of two things in this life. We will either build or destroy, right? And if we are not engaged, it is very difficult for us to build the society and the world that we want to live in, right? And so, at minimum, we should know who these people are, and if given the opportunity, we should know where they stand. At most, we can be these people, and or lobby these people, right? To create the world that we want to live in, right? These are big decisions that we're talking about. We're talking about tanks rolling down our streets. We're talking about a vehicle, all right, that costs more money for it to be repaired than 5 teachers make in a year. These have real and for it to stay in a garage allegedly. But these are issues that affect our day-to-day lives, right? The repair on a vehicle like that is more than places like the Doug have gotten over a period of years, right? And when we look at places like the Doug and all that does for our community, right? All that does as a hub for progress, as a hub for the future, and as a hub for the present, and as a safe place in our community.
Right.
These are things that need to be prioritized. And let me just say this: even if you don't show up, even if you don't, dare I even say, if you don't pick a candidate, showing up at a forum like this has its place in the overall discourse of the conversation, right? It's important for people to show up and be present, right? When questions like this are being asked, to demonstrate that these are issues that our community cares about, right? To demonstrate that we have people power, right?
Right.
And I think it's, Malcolm X talked about a speech about the ballot or the bullet, right? And both wield power, right? Some would say we are some would say the Black community has been under attack since we've been here, and that what was it? War is politics with bloodshed. Politics is war without bloodshed, right? So we need to use that every weapon at our disposal, right? We need to use me being pro pacifism, right? Does not mean that I'm pro inaction. I believe we should use every weapon at our disposal. So that means using the ballot, right, in hopes to avoid the bullet.
All right.
But at the very least, engage. Show
Now
up.
you,
Show
now
up
you,
about what's going on.
One thing that I wanted to piggyback on with what Julian was stating, when he talks about how the city council and the mayor play such a major role in the day-to-day lives of individuals in Toledo, I just want to read through the committees that city council is responsible for. So, city council is responsible for budget oversight for the city, education, recreation, and employment. That's everything outside of the TPS Board of Education. Finance and debt oversight, neighborhoods, community development, and health, public safety, and criminal justice reform. As I stated earlier, today's city council agreed to approve TPD's budget, which included a 4% raise, I believe a $3,500 COVID relief payment for all officers who worked during the pandemic. There's a couple of other things, and I can pull that up. But also, when you look at the Toledo Police Department and their contract renegotiations, there was absolutely nothing in there about discipline. There was absolutely nothing in their new contract about holding officers accountable. There was absolutely nothing in their new contract about making sure that officers who did decide to speak out would not face any sort of repercussion. So when you look at the decisions that TPS makes also, or that TPD and the city of Toledo make together in all of these contract negotiations, also pay very close attention to what's left out. I can tell you that the MRAP approval has been passed back up to the administration. And I want to believe that it is in part because of the amount of attention that everyone in the city paid to this particular issue. The fact that there were individuals who called, who emailed, who wrote letters to members of city council, that is the power that we all have as constituents. Another committee that city council is responsible for is regional growth, development, and small business enterprises. Brother Washington was just on here speaking with the head of the African American Toledo Chamber of Commerce, which I am sure has some relationship with city council. So all of those things play a role with each other. Julian stated, whether or not you break your ankle walking down the street or need to get a new axle in your car from a pothole, streets and public services and utilities are decided through city council. Water quality and sustainability. When we had the water crisis a few years ago, a lot of the decisions came down to city council deciding what the next step would be. Zoning and planning. We have talked a lot about the fact that Toledo is in the midst of gentrification. We have talked about the fact that when there was the Solheim Cup, you had one group where it was exclusively for the upper echelon, for the white participants of the Solheim Cup. And then you saw further down the street in the black neighborhood, we were allowed to all come together and show off the beauty and the greatness of our culture. You can see the same thing happening in how certain parts of Toledo are getting a bit more attention. Neighborhoods that used to be considered blight are now having those houses financed and getting new roofs and getting lots more attention and financial help as opposed to other parts of the neighborhood. When you look at gentrification, it's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that you just wake up one day and you say, oh, there's a Starbucks here where it used to be a gun store. And oh, there's a Whole Foods here where there used to be a cell phone store. Or There's nothing where there used to be a grocery store. There's a lot more police presence where there used to not be. It's a gradual process. So when you look at zoning and planning, when you look at how Toledo looked 5 years ago, as opposed to how they want Toledo to look 10 years from now, zoning and planning has a lot to do with the decisions that people who we elect are allowed to make. Now, if you want to make a difference, if you want to be a part of that change, you have to be aware, you have to be informed. And the best way to be informed is to know who is holding these positions, to know what they're voting on, to know what the ordinances are that city council is allowing to pass, that they're benching, that they're passing back up to the administration, because there's so much pressure coming from the people.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned that. And they had muted Julian's mic. There's a little bit of feedback there. I don't know if you hear it on your end. Okay.
I can hear it loud and clear.
Okay, well, maybe it's just me. Hey, listen, Ruth talked about earlier that every once in a while we have to take a break. We have to step back. How important in this work is to be able to participate in self-care? How important is that? Is it important to you, Julian? Is it important to you, Ruth? If so, why?
Every car needs a tune-up, right? Every house needs repair. You know, a house built upon sand cannot stand, right? So from time to time, it's important to step back and look at my foundation. Why am I here? What am I showing up for? You know, and I actually, you know, I was sitting back and thinking today, you know, sometimes sometimes you need to take a step back and just look at life, you know, sometimes staying hyper focused. You know, if I'm always looking at this little piece of the paper, right, and I never step back, I never see the context of all and how this affects the whole world and the entire landscape, right? We handicap ourselves when we don't practice self-care. We're doing ourselves and the people we love a disservice. We're not, you know, part of what we do is we have to behave in the way that we want the future to look. Right? And overworking ourselves is a trait of toxicity, right? That sometimes John Henryism, if you will, a trait that some of us have been indoctrinated with that is been counterproductive to our existence, right? And so how do we live in a way where we can combat these constructs that are harmful? Well, you know, for me, in my house, if you will, I must rest. Even God took a break. What makes you think I can't? I don't
dealing with us, I would too.
Right?
I'm sorry,
if,
God. I hope you ain't listening. Hope you ain't listening today. All right. Hope you ain't listening today. Oh man. Well, since we virtual, he might be like, well, where he at? All right. I'm sorry, God. That's too. Oh Lord.
So for myself, I come from two different schools of thought. The first one comes from a quote that my mother has always told me. It's from J. California Cooper, the author, and it's "Don't let your body have a fool for a boss." And the other one that ties directly into that is I believe it's a therapy technique called parenting yourself. And it's when you treat your body or you love yourself the way you would want to be loved. So when I was younger, I was often told to go lay down because I was upset about something and I just needed to just go lay down. I needed to just reset, and I was exhausted and I couldn't see it in myself but my parents could see it. They knew what it looked like when I wasn't my full authentic self. And so I have to pay attention to myself the same way that I would want someone to pay attention to me. I have to love myself the same way that I would want someone to love me. And if someone told me to go lay down because they saw that I was frazzled and I was spiraling out, that's the type of connection I have to have with myself and my self-care. So choosing to be in tune with myself, to love myself enough to know that I need to listen to myself so that I don't have a fool, my body doesn't have a fool for a boss. That's where my love of self-care comes in, and creating a space that, like I stated earlier, like Brother Washington has been consistent, and I want to just publicly again thank him for his consistency in CSRN, because it gives me space to say I have to take a moment to get myself together so that I can be my best self. And having the wherewithal to partner with people who, you know, that if you have to put the ball down, they're right there to pick it back up for the layup. I don't know if that was a sports ball reference, but y'all get it, because
we guys. All right, there you go. All right. Oh, hold on.
I just want to add, when we try to pour from an empty cup, bad things happen. All right, as someone who's spokesman, and I say, Brother Washington gives me credit for taking a lot of arrows and things like that. We can't pour from an empty cup. You know what I mean? And when we pour from an empty cup, I mean, you see it in sports, right? When somebody is injured and tries to go back out there, they risk further and worse injury, right? Or when somebody has a little cough, maybe, or is a little sick, and they try to go to work, and the whole workplace gets sick. You see what I'm saying? When we do work where we are at service to others, right? We have to keep. We can't be trying to serve others, and we don't have anything in ourselves to pour out. Right? Then that's when we hurt others. That's when we have good, they said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's when we have good intentions, but we create harm, oftentimes unknowingly. Right. And so as I look at my life and trying to be, a freedom fighter, not for just a season, but for a lifetime, it takes pace. You have to pace yourself when it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
You can't go as fast as you can all the time. Matter of fact, you don't go in a marathon, you don't go as fast as you can any of the time, right? Slow but steady. And that's why, Brother Washington, hats off to you. Goals. You know what I mean? There's one thing I admire about you. It's your pace, brother. You've got this thing of pace down. Where I'm working on intervals and interval workout. So I just want to show some appreciation to you, Brother Washington. You're always giving credit to the young people, but there's something about your wisdom that shines through your actions and how you're able to walk out this Black liberation journey on a day-to-day basis. That deserves some recognition and deserves, you're even now you're paving the way, and your consistency and your pace for us to follow. All right. And so we appreciate that.
All right. And thank you. And I got to pass that praise on to those that came before me and think about that pacing myself. You can't be everywhere. And I've already tried to be accepted by everybody. I've already tried to be everything to everybody, only to meet with disappointment, sadness, depression, because you can't please everyone. And something you just said, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, I've tried. And what I end up emptying myself out is family, friends, my own mental stability, my own health. Because after that cup is empty, that's what you're pouring out. And you might find yourself by yourself where no one can pour back into you, because almost like a car, once you run out on run out of gas, you may be near where I work, and I don't want to run out of gas where I work. All right. All of those are sundown towns. And thank you, Wasia, Brian, and Delta. Hey, look, I'm out of there, so I'll make sure I don't run out of gas in the wrong place. I keep a quarter tank, all right? Half a tank on a good day, and make sure every week I stop to fill up. Because people get tired of bringing you jumper cables. People get tired of bringing you gas. All right. People get tired of calling AAA for you. If you break down that much, you should have a membership. You should own it. These are the things that's been told to me. I've always thought that I could do everything for everybody and end up being nothing for myself. So thank you for acknowledging that. And you are learning the space. It is dealing with interval. And if anybody tells you you can run a marathon and a sprint, I'd have to get a drug screen from them, and a lie detector, because nobody does that. I haven't seen anybody do that, So thank you for your consistency. Now, one of the things that I would like to do, since we're talking about self-care, let's go to a short break, short commercial, and then we can do some loose ends. We don't have Jody with us, and I'm looking at his page right now, trying to find some poems. Damn it, Jody, where do you put your poem? Now that I want one, where do you put them? So we'll come back from loose ends, hit the pledge, and hey, look, we'll take it from there. So this is CSRN Weekly Video Minutes, our local podcast. We'll be right back.
If you can ride a bike without falling, then you're good to go. Bike Rides Matter. It's a community bike group. We get together for fun, fitness, and fellowship. We ride weekly. Right now, we got a Tuesday ride where we ride on the UT Trail. We do Saturday right here at Uptown Green. That's our glow roll Saturday night. It was something I was already doing with my daughter, just riding bikes, and we just decided it would be cool to add the community, because we were just finding ways to make fun given the situation. Being that everything was closed down and options were limited, bike riding is one of those things you can do without any restrictions.
You get to make new friends and just interact with people, especially during COVID. You still have your mask on and stuff, but it's still good to see people.
It's a cool way to stay fit. We talk while we riding, we got music while we riding. I've met quite a few new friends and new people. I made some real cool connections throughout the city. Take advantage of the time you have. Take advantage of this pandemic. I know it's a lot of restrictions, but you can be creative and find new ways to have fun, one of which is this right here.
All right, we are back. CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. And right now we're going to go to called Loose Ends. This is where we get a chance to wrap up anything that we missed, anything that's happening in the news that we didn't mention before. And for me, I just want to remind everybody of what's happening next week. And we've got some awesome partners, sponsors, the NAACP, Jobs with Justice, Toledo African American Chamber of Commerce, Frederick Douglass with a mask on. I don't know how that happened. And Pascal Real Estate, along with CSRN, making this happen. And also, this is for you, Bruce and Julian. On our way to do this podcast, we were engaged by one of the mayoral candidates, and their question was, "Hey, look, we see that this room looks like it's for city council only, and mayoral candidates are not." So I didn't respond back. So I said, "Well, look, I'm going to just ask you, is it okay if any of the mayoral candidates come, and how do you want to be handling that?"
Well, we'll talk. I got an idea.
Okay, now I'm really worried. So what are your thoughts, Ruth? We'll still go with, or should we? You're not muted.
Okay, first things first, there's like a weird echoey thing happening. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but I only heard a portion of the question.
All right, I just muted Julian because Julian has something going on with his microphone.
Okay. But what I think you said was like one of the mayoral candidates wanted to know if they could come to the city council forum.
Right.
Okay, so I have no issue with any of them coming, because attendance is open to any and everyone. I would suggest that all current candidates show up to this function, just off the strength of having an opportunity to speak with constituents. Like, I know that school board elections are also coming up. I know that there are a few different levies on the ballot. I know I've seen something for Imagination Station.
Potardin?
I think one other one. But yes, okay, so I do want to hear Julian's idea. And for anyone who's watching CSRN, our live feed, this is basically how all decisions are made. We do this as a committee, but I have the final say. And unfortunately, Julian is still muted. And oh well.
And I'm glad to know that. And I'm glad we got him muted. Yes, I'm glad
but
to
yeah,
know
so
that.
I would personally extend a verbal invitation to any and all candidates to come and attend. Now, in regards to us giving them space on a platform, that could be something that we could discuss, but also that is given the fact that this is not a mayoral forum. This is given the fact that official invitations at this time, as far as I know, have not been sent out to mayoral candidates. And in doing things like giving opportunities to speak, I believe in the process of fairness and giving everyone equal amounts of time and access. But if they want to come and just speak with constituents, then I have nothing against that.
Okay, we're going to bring Julian back in. And Julian said that he has an idea. And historically, whenever Julian said, I have an idea, okay, all right.
Okay, so we're just doing this live then. Okay, so you can see kind of how things go. But yeah, I mean, it's having worked on campaigns before, right? And you have to realize, like, having access to certain voter blocks is a privilege, right? It's not a chore to try to reach the reach the people that we reach, to reach the demographics that we represent. It's an honor to be able to engage in those groups that maybe, you know, on a typical campaign or in one's typical life, they don't typically get the chance to interact with. That's a whole nother conversation. But we had a mayoral forum, specifically during the primary, so that as many people as possible could show up. Now I wouldn't be so. I mean, I have an issue with having the platform that's for city council candidates. And during the mayoral forum, I don't think we would have allowed city council candidates, the mayoral candidates, time to speak on that platform. And I don't think it's fair to cut into the city council candidates' time to engage. But I think hey, we do have a couple more weeks coming up, and I think this is a wonderful platform on Tuesdays coming up, and we do have virtual options or in-person options for candidates to join us, and we can talk about whether or not we would use this platform to maybe have some one-on-one conversations.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump in there really quickly. So, I had forgotten about the mayoral forum because the candidates who were endorsed. No, I won't even say that. Wade and Cardi did not show up. What we did with the mayoral forum was we had 2 candidates who did show up, and we gave them the space to speak. We asked them questions and they answered them. We gave shout outs to the city council candidates who were in attendance, and we let them say hi and they spoke to the constituents. Now, when it comes to this time around, I was thinking the same type of environment where we had city council candidates who were up on the stage, who were speaking, and if the mayoral candidates chose to attend, they are free and willing to attend, to show up into that space and speak with constituents if they like. But when it came to giving them time, that opportunity was already made, and they let it be known how they felt in their lack of attendance. So I can't keep anyone from showing up, but I can protect the space that is created. And I do know that there was at one point that Cardi tried to come on to CSRN, and I think we put the kibosh on that one as well. And so I don't see any reason for us to change how we've functioned. Now that they've realized, for whatever reason, their faux pas in not attending. But I am not of the mindset of bending over backwards to meet the need of a candidate who couldn't do the same.
Okay. And the beautiful thing about this is fair and just. So yes, they can come. Yes, we will recognize them as we did the those who were on city council. We recognized Nick. We recognized Cassandra. We recognized, I think that was, we even recognized Juwan. All right. However, we didn't allow them to use that space that was just for the mayoral candidates.
Right.
Even if it was just Cardi and Wade that showed up, I think that it would still been unfair to allow city council members a seat on that stage when it was designated for them. So
yeah, and if they want to show up as a citizen, right, and ask the city council candidates questions, I think that's cool too.
Yeah,
right?
And
they are voters too.
They can use index cards. I'll make sure that they have index cards and ink pens. So that's my feeling. And what I'll do, with your permission, I'll get back to that person and tell them, yes, it is a platform for those who are vying for the city council. But you're welcome to come. You're welcome to also ask questions. And you're welcome to speak to your constituents before the event starts and after, since we're not going to have a break for snacks as we did pre-pandemic. Those were some good forums that you could get something to eat we prepared a meal for people at a city council forum. All right. So we're not able to do that now. So with your permission, and I think that was Carter's that had messaged. They didn't say who it was, but I'm sure that's that number. And so okay, so I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. All right. So we worked it out. All right.
Live.
We worked it out. All right. And even Julian.
That's how these conversations go. They're pretty organic and real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
all right.
We're always big on fairness and equality. You know,
right.
That's what it's all about.
And also, it shows a lot about the strength of our program and our movement that we don't, if we're going to make some changes, then we make them together. But no one's going to dictate how we facilitate our event. It doesn't matter if it was the mayor, the state senator, or whomever. We're going to make a decision, we make it together, and it is what it is. All right, and we stand on that. You know, and listen, what do we do next? Do we go along with the pledge? Was there something else that we missed?
I think you were going to freestyle for 5 minutes.
Oh, no. No,
it wasn't freestyling. Brother Washington was going to break dance.
Okay, well, that part of breaking something is true, all right?
I'll drop the beat for you.
All right. All right, so how we gonna do this? Okay, look, it is 7:30. Look. Okay, I got Metro PC type Wi-Fi, so obviously this has got to come to an end at one point or another. We close out with our solidarity pledge. How do we do that? There's someone, I feel like one of Zoom calls that they, show on YouTube. So who's going to close out? Close out from here? Close out from Ruth? Do it.
Everyone say aye. Your name.
No, just stop.
That was Wi-Fi. That was that Wi-Fi. That's that Metro PCS Wi-Fi. Okay. Say your name.
Oh, this is live. Oh man, that was. I'm gonna get you back for that. All right. I'm sorry for all of our listeners.
Bring us home.
This is a mess. Oh my gosh.
All our listeners and that one person that's watching. I think it might be my mom. We're sorry. We need it.
We're trying. We're not perfect.
All right.
Everyone say aye.
Aye.
Your name.
Julian.
Pledge to strive.
Pledge
to love my brothers and my sisters.
To love my brothers
and my sisters.
As I love myself.
As I love myself.
I. Say your name.
Julian.
Brother Washington.
Pledge to strive.
Pledge to strive.
To study to improve myself.
To study
to improve myself.
Spiritually. Mentally. Morally. And physically. For the benefit of myself.
For the benefit of myself.
My family.
My family.
And my people. I. Say your name.
Brother Washington.
Pledge to strive.
Pledge to strive.
To give all that I can spare.
To give all that I can spare.
Of my time.
Of my time.
My strength.
My strength.
And energy.
And
to achieve. The above said.
The above said.
Now give yourself a round of applause.
All right, that was very good. I am very impressed with that. And as always, we thank everybody for joining us for this research. And as always, all lives matter until Black
Lives matter.
And Black lives can't matter until all
Black lives matter.
Justice or else. Peace.
Peace.
All right.